mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Season 1, Episode 5 of Showtime's Yellowjackets, entitled Blood Hive. Now, as you can see, I'm in a different location. There's a whole lot of hustle and bustle going on in my house right now. I don't know if this is going to impact the audio. I feel like I'm hearing a bit of an echo here, but this is the only way I was going to be able to get some solitude to be able to record these videos. And there was a lot of great television that happened on Sunday. I didn't want to take up time in the day without getting these videos out because there's so much to talk about. So great episode of Yellowjackets. Yellowjackets is rolling. It's probably going to be, it's definitely going to be in my top 10 of 2021 already. And we're only like halfway through the season, but a lot of great developments again in this episode. Like, I love how this show gives you a lot each week, but it still feels like a fraction of what you could get overall. And that's incredibly satisfying to feel like every week I'm satisfied with the amount of information that I'm given, but I also know there's so much more that they can do and so many different directions they can take it. So Blood Hive, the title refers to everybody, all the girls' periods are in sync. And we find out that Shauna is late and she's pregnant, and she actually fakes getting her period, which Taissa observes. And they leave us to wonder what happens with this pregnancy, because I don't believe her daughter was born in the wilderness. I also don't believe they are within 9 months of leaving. So what happens with this pregnancy? We'll see. But that's the episode title here. So like I said, a lot of interesting developments. I think the most important one that I took away from this is that the show very clearly wants us to believe that Jackie's dead. There's a great scene, and I think that this is this scene like literally made me gasp. But when Shauna is at this adult Shauna is at this party with Adam, and she chases after what who she believes is Jackie, which I thought was just her having a vision, but it turns out it really is somebody in Jackie's Yellowjackets jersey. It just so happens to be her daughter. And then before I can even register the fact that she's at the same party as her daughter, Adam walks up, and it's like, okay, the whole jig is up now. And I'm like, and we already know how how obnoxious her daughter is. Like, this is not a good situation. So that reveal of it being actually her daughter, I like literally gasped. And that was just from, oh snap, her daughter's at the same party as her while she's supposed to be at book club. Oh shit, there's Adam. So that was I love that scene. But after that, they have a conversation about everything really, and Shauna reveals that the jersey that her daughter is wearing isn't actually hers; it's Jackie's jersey, and it was given to her on what would have been Jackie's 40th birthday by her parents. So we are then, I think we are then meant to assume that Jackie is dead, which makes me now even further believe that she's not. But there's so many different things going on and so many different clues that can lead in different ways. But there's a few things that make me think that Jackie not only is alive, but Jackie might be the person who's sending the messages. But I also have, and sending them the messages with the symbol on it. But I also have another idea on who that could be. So this show is doing some shit, man. But we see later in the episode, in another great scene, that Lottie seemingly gets possessed, I guess you could say. They have a seance in the upstairs part of the cabin as kids where that dead body was. And they're doing it for shits and giggles. It's supposed to be a good time. And Lottie, who we know is off her medication, more on that later, starts to actually like seemingly get possessed. And she's like speaking in French, and Jackie's the one translating it. And she says, you must spill blood or something. And then she rams her head into a window. And the religious one, Laura Lee, comes up there and she throws a Bible at her, which seems to knock her out of it, snap her out of it. And Jackie's the one that's kind of like trying to roughly translate this French. And also, the seance has like candles around on spots that have that symbol that we've been seeing. And then later we find out that Travis's quote unquote suicide, the candles were arranged in a similar fashion to form that symbol, and then they were removed and there were wax stains there. So that kind of makes me wonder, like, Jackie was the one doing the translations there. And there's candles used for the seance, which was Jackie's idea. There's candles used for the seance, and there's candles at Travis's murder scene or whatever, suicide scene, whichever one it was, we don't know yet. And it just makes me wonder, do they think that Jackie's dead, but Jackie's actually alive, and she's the one sending these threatening messages? So it also looks like we have a time jump as well. Like, the girls seem to have kind of like a good system going on. They're doing laundry, they're handling their period rags. They've got they've got their situation with that deer. They got a hunting thing going on, and Jackie's just kind of like chilling, not doing shit. And everyone seems to resent her for it. And they have a moment where Shauna pulls Jackie to the side and is trying to like put her up on game. Like, they see that you ain't doing shit, so they don't like you. And she gives her like this kind of pep talk, this kind of like, you used to be the one who got us together, like you used to be the leader and now you're not. And then she gives her back what I like to call Chekhov's necklace, that we're like kind of like using to track whoever it was that died in the opening scene. It's now back in Jackie's possession. So that was an interesting move as well, because again, that's kind of trying to push us in the direction that was Jackie who fell in there and died. And I don't know. The more they try to tell me that Jackie's dead, the more I believe that she isn't. So let me see. I talked about Lottie's situation there. Another interesting connection from that scene with Lottie, though, is that she says, "You must spill blood." And then the word spill is written on adult Thaisa's door in red paint, aka blood. And I think at that time, Thaisa took it as like spill the beans, like say what happened to you while you were in the wilderness. But now we look at it after what happens toward the end of the episode, and now I think it's a reference to the seance. And it makes me wonder if the figure, the evil lady in the tree or whatever with no eyes that Thaisa saw when she was small, that Sammy's seeing now, is the person who, Sammy said that's the person who wrote it on there. I gotta assume not only is that the person who wrote it on there, but that's also the person who possessed Lottie at the seance. So there's definitely some supernatural shit going on here. I'm okay with that. I think it's an interesting added dynamic. But I also think there's some very real, tangible things that are happening as well. So we also spend time with adult Misty and Nat. They find out from Kevin that there was no, illegal substances in Travis at the time. And then Natalie has Misty use one of her contacts to hack Kevin's email to get the full file. And they get the full file, and they're looking at these crime scene photos, and Misty sees what I mentioned earlier, the wax candle spots that form the symbol, and she just draws it out real quick. In that moment, I thought, you expect me to believe this? Like, there's no way she could look at this and just like, oh, I'm going to put these pictures in the perfect way, and then I know exactly which lines to draw to connect these to make this fit. No. I'm like, this is not plausible. But you know how it could be plausible? It could be plausible if Misty is behind all this. And I think a lot of this tracks, because what did I say after, I think it was episode 2, about how wildly manipulative Misty is. Like the whole thing with removing the battery part so that Nat needed to use her for a ride. Like, we know how manipulative she is. The destroying the black box in episode 1 after she overhears people giving her props. And she wants that attention. And she wants to be liked and respected. So maybe after all this time, she's using these things, like pretending like it's also happening to her, to kind of like bring the girls back together again for whatever reason. Because how could she possibly have figured that out that fast? And then also we get more evidence of how manipulative she is, because back in back at the cabin, so last week I was wondering why she tripped the coach. And then this week, she poisoned his tea. And now I'm understanding that it's to kind of like, it's like almost like some misery type shit. Like, she's trying to keep him needing her help, needing her care. Because when you look back at it, you think about her helping him try to sing him through taking a shit. Like, you think about even the scene in Even the scene in this episode where she came in and he had like that sleeping hard on that she went to go touch. Like, she's clearly obsessed with this guy. And as long as he's in some way incapacitated, he's relying on her for help. So now she is important to him. And that's what I think she craves, is that attention and that respect and that need for her to be around. So she created that need for her to be around when she broke the black box. And now she's doing the same thing by continuing to keep him in a state where he can't fully operate. And I think that they did a good job too when he confronts her about it, riding the line between how, like, is he telling the truth when he says he feels the same way? I don't believe he is at all. I believe it's him doing the right thing, like to keep her in line, you know, saying like, I feel the same way, so chill out, but we still got to keep it a secret because it's not appropriate. I think that's him being a smart adult who's being manipulative. But she has shown this long history now of doing things that keep her relevant. That's the best way to put it. That keep her relevant. And all of these things that are happening, she could conceivably be behind all of them. Sending the texts, sending the postcards with the symbol on them. These are all things that she would have the knowledge of, and just including herself in it makes it look like she's not involved. So I don't know where I land on it being Jackie doing it or it being Misty doing it. I'm kind of leaning toward Misty, just because the show has given us so much evidence of how manipulative she can be and how much she craves that attention for that, that relevance. So I don't know. I think it's an interesting direction to go, but I don't know which one. I don't know which one it is. But like I said, I'm leaning toward it being Misty. So let me see. What else do I have anything about Misty here? That's another thing too, is the candle placement. Like, again, if it's just like in a circle or something like that, but like they placed those candles on top of those symbols in the cabin. So there's also a reference to those symbols with Travis's suicide or murder or whatever, since the candles were used in both situations. And it makes me tie those two things together. So anybody who was there, which was everybody, is a potential person who could have done this. But it's just something about that feels like a very Misty type thing to do, to use. And like I said, she figured it out too fast. I think, is that really all I had for this episode? So we talked about Shauna and Jackie's conversation about that being, I said Shauna and Jackie. Shauna and her daughter, Callie's conversation about that being Jackie's jersey. That's what I was talking about. The whole period thing, Chekhov's necklace, we talked about that. Lottie being offered medication and going crazy. There was an interesting scene with that where I like at the beginning when they think that they hear someone walking around upstairs. Lottie goes, "You heard it too?" Like, it's almost like her acknowledging, like, I know I'm crazy, but y'all like, y'all heard it too? Like, maybe this might not be an instance of me being crazy. Like, all the rest of them, I know I'm hearing shit, but like all the rest of those times, like, I know I was tripping, but y'all heard this one? So I thought that was a funny line. And when I get to my thoughts, there's another funny line that I want to talk about as well. So we talked about Misty being this master manipulator, spill being written in blood. We talked about that. I talked about her tripping the coach. So yeah, I've covered everything I want to talk about. So I want to get into my thoughts now, my random thoughts. So I said in an earlier video, there was a scene where we see Taissa watching the girls like playing in the lake, where they had the thing where they had someone else on their shoulders and they were kind of like pushing back and forth. And she was looking at Van kind of like, lingering, kind of like, like enjoying the view, I guess. And I said in my video, I wonder if this is how, where she starts to come to a realization that she might like women. And then like, I was like, are her and Van going to become a thing? Or is it just kind of like her just noticing that she likes women? And turns out, again, I was right. Her and Van are actually secretly making out when no one's around. I like the line where Jeff's trying to come to the book club, and Shauna's, explaining to him why he doesn't want to go. And she says it's the opposite of a sausage fest. And he said a clam bake. She's like, you didn't have to do that. I thought that was a great line. I like when Misty gives Coach Ben the tea, and she says it'll help with the swelling. And then she pauses and goes, in your leg. Oh, that was a funny line because of the dick scene earlier. And then I like the scene where Shauna's daughter is trying to blackmail her, like, okay, this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna go wherever I want. I'm not gonna have no curfew, or I'm gonna tell dad that you're cheating on him. And Shauna, being the conniving person that she is, comes back with the phenomenal retort on why that mutually shared destruction would not work out for Callie. So another great episode. I love how much we learn. It's really got my brain moving, trying to figure out if Jackie is sending stuff, if Misty is sending the stuff, if it's nobody else, how the supernatural stuff is connected. I've talked about inherited trauma before. Like, it is like, how is Sammy connected to this? Like, there's so many things that are still unanswered, that are interesting questions to ask, but that we just don't. I don't even think we're really close to finding out. But I get a satisfying amount of information each week. So, and the show is giving you scary scenes, it's giving you funny scenes, it's giving you lots of mystery, but also giving you some laughs. Like, and it's doing a lot. So I'm really excited to see where this goes. So I'll see you guys next week for episode 6. Peace.